The air reeked of smoke and blood as Ethan Cole lay on the cold surface of the alien outpost. The last thing he remembered was the flash of light that obliterated his entire unit. His body, riddled with shrapnel, refused to move. Pain pulsed through every nerve. Above, distant stars blinked like indifferent gods. He wasn't dead, just left behind. And the Galactic Council, confident in their tactical precision, didn't think twice. One more soldier lost in a skirmish wasn't worth the paperwork. He dragged himself inside the structure, walls humming with dormant alien technology. There was food, inedible to most humans, but he made it work. Water dripped from rusted valves, each drop of victory. For weeks, he scavenged and survived. He stitched his wounds with wires. He wrapped his leg with the fabric of a fallen council uniform. Days blurred. Nights grew long. Loneliness became a second skin. He found an old communication panel, barely functional, but enough to intercept Earth's open channels. The first voice he heard wasn't a commander or medic. It was Sarah. His wife's face flickered on a dusty screen. Her message was old, pre-recorded. She spoke gently, her voice strained but loving. "I believe you're still out there. Please come back." Her eyes shone with hope, but her words carried fatigue. He replayed it, over and over. It was his medicine. Then he found another file. Newer, not addressed to him. It wasn't her voice that drew his breath short. It was the sound of another man's laughter, casual and familiar. Captain Reese, his commanding officer, his friend. Reese's hand grazed Sarah's shoulder in the video, the way only someone with unspoken rights could. Sarah didn't flinch. She leaned into it, and Ethan felt something rupture, quietly, like a whispered betrayal. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He studied the footage with a soldier's eye. She was wearing the necklace he gave her before deployment. Reese's voice was lower than usual, relaxed in a way Ethan had never heard before. "We've come a long way," Reese said. Sarah nodded. "Longer than I thought we would." The next morning, Ethan disabled the outpost's emergency beacon. He didn't want to be rescued. He wanted to return on his own terms. He modified the Council's shuttle system, studying manuals in a language he barely understood. Weeks turned into months. Every day, he strengthened his body, sharpened his mind. His mission was no longer survival. It was clarity. He found another message in the system. This time, encrypted. He cracked it. Reese, reporting to the Council, stating Ethan was confirmed KIA. His tone was clinical, efficient, no remorse. Ethan's death was convenient. No questions asked. And Sarah? She'd been silent for weeks now. No new messages. Only silence. He remembered the last conversation they had. Video call, hurried, interrupted by static. She told him to come home in one piece. Promised she'd wait. Swore she'd never love anyone else. He didn't blame her for moving on. War breaks people in ways peace can't fix. But Reese should have been the one to stop her, not the one to step in. Ethan trained. His limp faded. His voice returned, steady and firm. His face, once gaunt and pale, grew stern with purpose. He built a disguise, using council-grade armor and a new identity. He practiced blending in, rewriting himself one memory at a time. He spoke less, thought more, and dreamed only of one thing: closure. Every tool he needed, he scavenged. He even repaired a stealth drive, once thought irreparable. The shuttle groaned but flew. The coordinates were set. Earth was weeks away. He listened to Earth news, encrypted transmissions, civilian broadcasts. Sarah was now a community leader, praised for her volunteer work, respected. Reese, promoted. The two were often seen together, never officially coupled, but rumors danced around them like moths to flame. When the shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, he stayed hidden. No alerts, no comms, no greetings. He landed in the outskirts of what used to be Colorado, now part of unified North America, under council protection. The place was cleaner, quieter, sterile. Humanity had traded freedom for order. He didn't care. He had no political loyalties left. He walked among people unnoticed. The scars on his face were hidden. His voice altered. He passed through the very city Sarah now lived in. Watched her from afar as she smiled during a speech. She looked older, Softer. He wasn't angry, just hollow. He saw her laugh at something Reese whispered. She touched his arm, the same way she once touched Ethan's. He didn't feel hate, only detachment. Her love had ended. His hadn't. That was the difference. In a small room he rented under a false name, he replayed their old wedding video. He had stored it in a military drive before deployment. Sarah dancing barefoot on the beach. Ethan spinning her around. They looked happy, like fools who thought time stood still for them. At night, he stared at the stars from his window. Same stars he saw while bleeding in silence. The only difference now was the noise in his chest. He didn't know if it was grief, rage, or love refusing to die. He started following Reese. The captain now worked in security for the Council's Earth HQ. He was clean, polished, respected. Ethan watched him shake hands, give orders, save lives. But every time he looked at Sarah, there was ownership in his gaze. Ethan considered revealing himself, barging into their lives, tearing down the illusion. But something stopped him. He wanted more than vengeance. He wanted understanding. Why did she move on so easily? Why Reese? Why didn't she fight for him? Or at least grieve longer? He contacted an old friend, Juno, a hacker who owed him favors. She dug up everything: Sarah's psychological profiles, Reese's personnel files, council communication logs. The truth was muddy. Sarah had indeed mourned for 3 months. But Reese was there, supportive, attentive. He visited her daily. He told her Ethan's death was heroic, comforted her. Slowly, he replaced Ethan. Ethan shut down the screen. He knew what he had to do. Not revenge, not redemption, something else, something that had yet to take shape. He wrote a message to himself, a reminder. Love is loyalty tested by time and truth. If it fails either, it was never real. Then he deleted it. He didn't need reminders anymore. The truth was enough. He stood by Sarah's house one night, just across the street. Lights were off. The silhouette of her standing by the window was faint. She didn't see him, but he saw her. She looked tired, not unhappy, just worn. He almost called out. Almost. Instead, he turned around and walked into the darkness. The city had changed. Towering council buildings cast long shadows over the streets Ethan once called home. Surveillance drones floated silently, tracking every movement. He kept his head down, identity scrubbed clean, armor hidden beneath civilian layers. No welcome, no flags, just silence. He found a small apartment in Sector 9 under a false name. Cash only. No questions. He tracked Reese's movements first. Routine. Morning meetings at the council tower, midday inspections at the barracks, evening returns to the upper residential zone. Reese smiled often, shook hands with important people, gave public statements. But in private, he was guarded. Paranoid. He always checked corners, watched reflective surfaces. He felt something coming. Ethan intercepted council chatter. Reese had filed a silent threat protocol, an anonymous source warning him that someone from his past might be alive. The council dismissed it. No proof. Ethan made sure of that. He was already 3 steps ahead. He passed Sarah twice in public without her noticing. Once near the community center, once at the market. She moved with quiet purpose. Her laugh, still the same. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. People greeted her kindly. She responded like someone fulfilling a role, not living a life. There was no ring on her finger, no visible sign of Reese. Yet, their names were still often paired in media broadcasts. The perfect team, the war widow and the hero protector. Ethan waited outside her building one evening, not to be seen, just to feel her presence. She arrived late, alone, carrying a small bag of groceries. When she paused to look at the night sky, Ethan's breath caught. He remembered how she used to do that back on Earth before deployment. Always stargazing, always waiting. He turned away before she noticed. The next day, he approached Reese using a fabricated identity. Claimed to be an ex-council engineer offering technical upgrades. He secured a meeting through back channels, using an encrypted channel Reese used for unofficial deals. When Reese saw him, he didn't recognize the face but stayed too long. Something in Ethan's voice made him hesitate. Ethan spoke with clipped precision, Years of discipline in every syllable. Reese dismissed the offer, but not the man. He looked unsettled. Ethan didn't press. He didn't need to. The seeds were planted. Reese would start looking, and he'd find nothing but shadows. Back at the apartment, Ethan studied old logs of Sarah's communications. The council monitored civilian calls. Ethan had access through Juno, who still fed him quietly from the shadows. Sarah never mentioned Reese in any personal transmissions. She kept her life tightly compartmentalized, private, guarded, but there were late-night calls to an unlisted number that always ended abruptly. Juno traced the number. Council issued. Reese's private line. Ethan listened to one call. "Reese, this isn't what we talked about." Sarah's voice trembled. "I'm doing this to protect you," Reese replied coldly. "You promised if he came back." "I said if. Don't make this complicated." The line cut. Ethan felt nothing. Not rage. Not sorrow. Just a cold sense of understanding. Reese knew he was alive. Sarah suspected it. And instead of coming forward, they tried to bury it. Protect their story. He began leaving traces. Messages coded in old military frequency bands. Ghost signatures. Tactical whispers. Reese responded, quietly. Pulled extra security. Reassigned guard rotations. His confidence cracked. Ethan watched the man unravel, layer by layer. Sarah started looking over her shoulder. He followed her one morning into a library. She sat alone for hours, reading nothing. Eventually, she pulled out an old photograph, faded, wrinkled. Ethan in uniform. She touched his face with her fingertip, softly, then tucked it away. He left a note on her doorstep that night. No signature, just one line. Truth isn't buried. It waits. She didn't call the authorities. The next morning, she left town. Headed north, alone. Ethan followed. He kept his distance until she stopped at an old cabin near the mountains. A place they once visited on leave. She waited outside for hours, pacing. Then she said his name. "I know you're there. Just come out." He stepped forward. She stared at him like she was seeing a ghost. "You're real." "Yes." Tears welled in her eyes. She reached for him, stopped midway. "Why didn't you come back?" "I did." She collapsed into a chair. "Reese said you were gone. There was a body. DNA match. I mourned you. 4 months. You stopped mourning eventually." She didn't argue. "I tried to live. I didn't ask for him. He was just there. I was alone." "You weren't alone. You were replacing me." Her eyes narrowed. "You think I didn't suffer. I think you found comfort faster than most widows." She flinched. "You have no idea what those months were like. Because I was fighting to stay alive while you were falling into someone else's arms." Silence. "I didn't plan it," she said softly. "But you didn't stop it." Her hands trembled. "He said you died saving him. That you made peace with it. That's what I needed to hear. I needed closure." "And when did closure become romance?" She didn't answer. He looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't the same woman he married. But neither was he the man who left. They had both been rebuilt in different ruins. "I'm not here for revenge," he said. "Then why?" "To understand." She looked at him with a rawness he hadn't seen since their wedding night. "I don't know what you want from me. An apology? A confession? I did what I thought I had to do to survive. I didn't come for a verdict. I just needed to see your eyes when you said it." She stood. "So what now?" "I disappear again. Just like that." "Yes. This world belongs to the people who moved on." Her voice cracked. "I didn't stop loving you. But you stopped waiting." He left before she could respond. Back in the city, Reese was spiraling. Security tapes were being reviewed. He ordered covert scans. Council partners questioned his mental state. The man once so composed was unraveling. Ethan sent him a private message. "You stole what was mine. Now you live with it." Reese called Sarah that night. "He was here," she said before he could speak. "I know. You lied to me. I kept you safe." He didn't want revenge. Reese's silence was his confession. Sarah hung up. Ethan knew the end was near. Council records flagged unusual movements. A bounty appeared on classified channels. Someone had connected the dots. He wouldn't be safe for long. He stood one last time outside Sarah's building. Looked up at her window. No movement. No sign of her, just the memory of what used to be. He toned, fading into the crowd, leaving nothing behind. Ethan didn't expect to see Sarah again, but she came to him. No warnings, no hesitation. She walked through the doorway of his rented apartment like it was still their home. He didn't speak. Neither did she. For a few seconds, there was just breathing. She looked thinner, more fragile than he remembered, but her eyes had the same sharpness. She finally broke the silence. I told him I knew. He nodded. How did he take it? He didn't deny it, just said he did what he thought was necessary. Sounds familiar. I came here to talk, not to be judged. He motioned to the chair across from him. She's Saturday. You left everything behind for this? She asked. No, I lost everything before this. She folded her arms. I didn't betray you. You moved on before the war ended. I buried you. I was breathing. You think I didn't want you to walk through the door? Every day I prayed for it. But then the reports came. The funerals. The dog tags. I broke. And Reese, he was just there. You let him be. You think it was that easy? Her voice trembled. He manipulated me. He made me believe you died for him. That you chose him to live. How do you grieve someone you love when someone else wears the guilt like a badge of honor? He stared at her. You still care about him? No, but you did. I cared because he reminded me of you when I needed you most. That's the worst part. She lowered her eyes. I didn't know how to be without you. He leaned forward. And now? I'm still figuring that out. You had a life. I was erased from it. And now I come back and you want what? Closure. No, just truth. For both of us. He nodded slowly. Then here it is. I didn't survive for revenge. I survived because something inside me refused to die while everything else did. Every breath I took after that day, I took with a memory of you. That's what kept me alive. Not hate, not hope, just the thought that somewhere, somehow, you were waiting. Turns out, you weren't. I did wait, she whispered. I just didn't know how long. And you made your peace with him. I tried. You slept next to the man who sent the death report. I hated myself every second. But you stayed. I thought it was what I deserved. Silence stretched again. I didn't come back for you, he said. Not really. I came back because I needed to know who I was now. And seeing you with him told me everything. Then why did you meet me again? Because there's a part of me that still remembers you without the weight of war. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm not that person anymore. Neither am I. You want me to feel guilty? I do. Every day. I don't want your guilt. I wanted your truth. Then hear it. I loved you. I still do. But it's buried under everything I've done to keep going. Reese was comfort, not love. And I hated him for not being you. He knew I was alive. He lied to you. I know. Are you still with him? No. Did he let you go? Or did you leave? I walked away after I saw you. I realized I'd been living in a lie just because it was quieter than grief. He stood, walked to the window, stared out. The city pulsed below them. I can't stay here, he said. I figured. The council knows I'm alive. There's a bounty. You can't outrun them forever. I don't intend to. Just long enough to disappear on my terms. She walked up behind him. I don't want to lose you again. You already did. But you're still here. Not for long. She touched his shoulder. Then let me have one day. Just one. He turned, met her eyes. What would that change? Nothing. But it would give me something real to remember. They spent the next few hours in silence. Sitting, remembering, sharing memories without words. The way her fingers ran over his wrist. The way his eyes lingered on her hands. The space between them wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold either. It was haunted. She cooked. He watched. They shared a meal like strangers wearing old names. As night fell, she leaned against him. Do you think we could have made it? If I'd come back sooner, maybe. If you hadn't come back at all, you'd still be with him. I think I would have left eventually. My heart wasn't his to keep. But he tried. He succeeded for a while. He looked at her face, memorizing it. The lines, the changes. She was older, more complex. No longer the girl who danced barefoot in sand. And he wasn't the soldier who promised forever. She slept beside him that night. No words, no promises, just presence. No intimacy, no pretending. Just the heavy silence of two people tangled in what used to be love. By morning, she was gone. She left a note. "Thank you for giving me back my truth. I'll carry it better this time." Ethan folded the note, pocketed it. Later that day, he received a coded alert. Reese had issued a silent protocol across council enforcement. One rogue identity detected, ex-military, priority target. Ethan smiled. Reese was scared. That made things easier. He broke into Reese's personal quarters. Not to kill, just to look him in the eye. Reese was alone, half-dressed, staring at a monitor. Ethan shut it off. "You're supposed to be dead," Reese muttered. "I was, until I realized I had unfinished business. You're not going to make it out of this." "I don't plan to." Reese stood slowly. "What do you want?" "Answers. You already got them." "From Sarah?" "Yes. But not from you." Reese exhaled. "She would have died without someone. I gave her stability. You took my life. I saved your unit. You took my wife. I filled the void." Ethan stepped closer. "You lied to her. You buried me. She needed closure. You needed control." Reese didn't deny it. "I'm not here to kill you," Ethan said. "I want you to live with it. Every morning. Every night. The man you erased is back. And the woman you thought would forget me, she never really did. You think she'll come back to you? She won't need to, because I won't be here." Ethan left without another word. Reese didn't follow. The next morning, Ethan sent his final message to the council, encrypted, brief. A confession of survival. No threats, just facts. Then he erased his digital identity, severed ties with Juno, and vanished from every system. He didn't say goodbye to Sarah. There was nothing left to say. As he boarded a stolen scout craft, he looked at Earth one last time. Not with anger, not with regret, just acceptance. Love had turned to memory. Betrayal had become understanding. And war had given him clarity. The stars waited. The stars weren't freedom. They were escape. Ethan knew that. He didn't leave Earth to find peace. He left because there was nothing left to stay for. No war to fight, no love to reclaim, no justice to serve. Just open silence and time. His ship was nameless, stolen from a decommissioned patrol base orbiting one of Jupiter's moons. No logs, no transponder, just enough shielding to keep his heat signature buried in the black. He drifted through back channels and blind jumps, avoiding any lane that would trigger a scan. Out here, he wasn't Ethan. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a memory. He was just motion, one more ghost crossing the void. In the silence, the weight of everything began to settle. The betrayals, the lies, the moments he could never get back. He replayed conversations in his head, heard Sarah's voice in the static of the ship's failing radio, saw her silhouette in the reflection of the cockpit glass. He wondered if she'd ever truly moved on or if she'd simply decided to live with the wound. He wondered if Reese would sleep at night, knowing the man he tried to erase now haunted his legacy. But more than anything, Ethan wondered what might have been if he'd come back a week earlier. Or if he hadn't survived at all. Some nights, the guilt crept in. Not for surviving, but for not letting go. He should have walked away long ago. Let the past be buried with the uniform. But that wasn't who he was. He needed answers. He found them. And they didn't bring peace. Just finality. Eventually, supplies ran low. He docked at a trade station in a fringe sector. Nobody asked questions there. Everyone was running from something. Systems, syndicates, shadows. Ethan fit right in. He took up work doing hull repairs, weapon recalibrations. He didn't use his real name. He didn't need one. Weeks blurred. Time stopped measuring anything meaningful. Then one day, while clearing storage logs in a rusted freighter, he stumbled on a sealed transmission file buried deep in the ship's archive. It was encrypted in an old military format. His fingers moved instinctively, cracking the key within minutes. The message wasn't meant for him. It was a recorded log. Sarah's voice. "If you're hearing this, then maybe the universe gave you time I never got. I recorded this the night I left your apartment. I couldn't say everything in person. I tried, but my words failed. She paused in the recording. Ethan could hear her inhale. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve to be remembered. But I want you to know that I never stopped loving you. I just forgot how to carry it without breaking. Another pause. When I saw you again, it reminded me of who I used to be. Before the silence. Before the lies. And for that, thank you. You didn't come back to rescue me, but you reminded me that I needed to rescue myself. The log ended. He sat with it for a long time. Then he deleted it. He didn't need to keep her voice locked in data. It was already imprinted. That night, he received a ping on a private band. Not Sarah. Not Reese. A council frequency, masked. He didn't respond at first, but curiosity gnawed at him. He opened the channel. Commander Ethan Ward. You've been difficult to find. The voice was calm, female, unfamiliar. Not trying to be found, he said. We're aware. That's why we admire your work. I didn't know I was working for anyone. You weren't. But that's about to change. What's this about? There's a faction forming. Quietly. Against the council. People who remember what loyalty used to mean. We need someone like you. I'm not interested in revolutions. It's not a revolution. It's restoration. Your story made the rounds. The truth leaked. Not just about you. About Reese. About how the council buries inconvenient truths. You looking for a symbol? No. We're looking for a ghost who knows how to move through the cracks. Ethan didn't answer. We're not asking for commitment, the voice said. Just contact. If you change your mind, transmit to this channel. The call ended. He stayed at the console. Another war. Another lie wrapped in the promise of redemption. He didn't owe anyone anything. He gave everything once. They took it, twisted it, left him to rot. But something stirred. Not duty, not pride, just the nagging itch that maybe this time, the right thing wasn't about revenge or justice. Maybe it was about making sure nobody else got rewritten. He turned off the console. Slept. Days later, he met an old man at the trade station's cantina. Drunk, slumped, mumbling about lost sons and broken promises. Ethan bought him a drink. The man talked for hours. About a son lost in a war the council denied ever happened. About medals given to ghosts and lies broadcast as truth. Ethan listened. Before leaving, he handed the man a cred chip and said, "You're not crazy. You're just early." The man cried. That night, Ethan reactivated the council channel. "This is Ethan Ward. I'll listen." Once. The reply came instantly. Coordinates. A time. No name. He arrived at a refitted cargo ship in a dead orbit over a blacklisted moon. On board were 5 people. None wore insignia. None asked questions. But they all knew who he was. "You're the one they left behind," one said. "No," Ethan replied. "I'm the one who came back." They gave him a room. A purpose. Missions without names. Targets without politics. All off-grid. All aimed at cracking the machine from within. Ethan didn't lead. He didn't want to. He executed. Clean. Quiet. He became myth again. Across colonies and sectors, whispers grew. Of a soldier the council couldn't kill. Of truths being pulled from archives thought lost. Of names cleared. Of families reunited. Of stolen valor exposed. All without credits, without glory. And in the middle of it all, Ethan. Sarah never tried to find him again. Maybe she knew better. Maybe she knew he had become something else. One day, years later, a message arrived. Not from her. From a small school on a remote mining colony. They had found a box sealed under the foundation during reconstruction. Inside were old photographs, service medals, and a folded letter addressed to whoever still remembers. The letter spoke of love, of regret, of the cost of survival. It wasn't signed, but Ethan knew the handwriting. He didn't reply, just smiled for the first time in years. His war was no longer about bullets or betrayal. It was about memory, about preserving the truth from the hands that would erase it. And in that truth, Ethan Ward lived. Not as a hero, not as a victim, but as a man who survived what others couldn't carry, and chose to make sure no one else had to.